And hello, everybody. Welcome to the first ever State of the Pack Live. This is a brand new event, so we're looking forward to it and bringing a lot of the leaders here at Arkansas State to you tonight. This is the purpose of the event tonight, to bring our leaders to you and for them to hear from you, our fans here at Arkansas State University. Over the course of the past week, you've been submitting questions for this particular program, and we've got some great questions we're going to get to tonight. Looking forward to hearing from more of you, as well as you've got a chance to submit questions throughout the course of the program tonight. If you're watching over Zoom, you can do that. There's a Q&A icon at the bottom of the screen tonight. You can click on that and submit your question there. Submit your question through Zoom with the Q&A icon, and we'll get to as many of those as we possibly can as we go throughout the course of the program. Now, to kind of set things up tonight, we've got a lot of people that we're going to be visiting with. The Vice Chancellor of Intercollegiate Athletics, Jeff Purinton, will be joining us via Zoom coming up here in the next few minutes. Also, A-State Chancellor Dr. Todd Shields will be in studio. Looking forward to that visit with him. Also, our Deputy AD for Development and Revenue Generation, Brandon Cunningham, will be joining us as well tonight, as well as A-State head football coach Butch Jones. Demario Davis, A-State football legend, going to be joining us a little bit later on as well. We're going to hear from some of our student athletes during the course of the program. And coming up right after the break, we're going to be joined by our Vice Chancellor of Intercollegiate Athletics here at Arkansas State, Jeff Purinton. That's coming up right after this. And we welcome you back into State of the Pack Live. We've got a lot of guests to get to tonight, and we want to get to the first one right now. Joining us from his office, it's the Vice Chancellor of Intercollegiate Athletics here at Arkansas State University, Jeff Purinton. How you doing, Jeff?
Doing great, Matt. Appreciate you doing this. First of all, you don't get many nights without an event, whether it's the radio show or basketball this time of year. So thanks for jumping in. I've been around a lot of guys in radio through the years, and Matt's a pro, so we appreciate him. And then thanks to all of our fans and donors for joining us, and Dr. Shields and Coach and our student athletes. Looking forward to a fun night, doing something a little different.
Well, one thing you've talked about since you came to Arkansas State was better communication with the fan base. And one thing you've done is you've started your State of the Pack addresses that you've been sending out on a regular basis now, but tonight is a little bit different. This is a brand new event that we're trying tonight. What is the idea behind this? What purpose are you trying to serve to our fans with this event?
Yeah, so the first few months, getting to know everybody, numerous times, everybody said we just want to be communicated with more. So we've tried to do that with the State of the Pack every 2 weeks, tried to do some on social media. I've tried to go out some different community events and some different civic groups like Rotary and Kiwanis Exchange Club and some of those. So we actually did this when I was at Alabama during COVID, when you couldn't really meet in person, but it was very well received, and it allowed us to talk about a lot of different things regarding athletics and some different procedures and policies moving forward. And then I know some of our other employees that have worked at other universities have done something similar as well. So now everybody somewhat knows how to use Zoom, and we've made this kind of part of our everyday life. We thought this would be a good idea, kind of set the tone for this year. And then also eventually we'll do some in person and get out more across the state and our region.
It's been 7 months since you took over at Arkansas State. What's some of the biggest takeaways you've been able to take away from your first semester here on the job?
Yeah, someone said that it's kind of like a semester, and it really has been, and it really is similar to, you know, my first semester of college when I was going to school at Florida State in the fall of '93. First of all, you got to find out where everything is, how the processes all work. Kind of needed to see where we were in terms of our athletic department and our staffing. And then, you know, didn't have Kelly Danfus was here for just maybe a week or so. And then eventually had to find out who my boss was going to be and how those interactions would go. So a lot of listening, a lot of learning. But I feel like we're definitely heading in the right direction. We needed some stability, and setting a good foundation was a priority. And that started really with our staff here in athletics. I think a lot of people know this, but I was new, obviously, in the third AD and pretty much a less than a 2-year period. Needed to hire a deputy AD, needed to hire a head of fundraising and head of development. We had a brand new CFO. The athletic department hadn't had a CFO before the last year or so. So we just had a lot of moving parts, and then we shuffled some responsibilities in terms of sport oversight and areas of responsibility. So I wanted to get the right people in the right places. And the first thing I needed to do was hire a deputy AD, and I wanted to get that right. I didn't want to rush it. I wanted to talk to as many people as I could, and ended up hiring Brandon Cunningham, and you'll hear from him later. Quickly in my conversations with our staff and our donors and our kind of stakeholders, we needed to figure out the fundraising and the revenue generation part of the department sooner than later. So Brandon has some great background in that area, comes to us from West Virginia. So we've got Brandon in place, and then we had to hire a new marketing director and some other positions as well. So we're getting there in terms of our foundation and getting to know everybody. And then I got the family. That has probably been the best part, Matt, to be honest, getting the family moved in this summer, and they've adjusted so well. I wasn't sure. My daughters are now 11, just had her birthday last night, and about to be 13. But they love their school. They've got a good little friend group. I already got, I have a bunch of screaming girls running around our house at all times. You never know what's going to be going on. They've adjusted to school and different activities with their friends. So that's been outstanding, and really appreciate how welcoming everybody's been in Jonesboro. And that's one thing that Chuck talked about during the interview process, and that has been 100% accurate. And it's something we talk about in recruiting and also trying to hire staff and coaches. What a great community this is to be a part of.
Now, later in the program, we'll get to some more specific questions for you during the Q&A, but we have a few questions submitted tonight about the plans and priorities of the athletic department. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so getting our staff and our executive team finalized was number one on that list. And then you got to go out and talk to your stakeholders. What's important to them? Obviously, baseball is something we'll probably talk about more. That would be a facility that needs to be addressed. Then where are we short in terms of not only facilities, but also maybe staffing, maybe salaries. So we're doing some kind of analysis in terms of where we stand in the Sun Belt. This was a good league before with the addition of the 4 new schools. This is one of the best leagues in the country. We just had Sun Belt meetings the last two days, and really excited about the trajectory of the conference. But it also has elevated the level of competition. So we need to find out where we are in terms of all of our staffing and all of our facilities and all of our funding. And then some other priority needs. We want to make sure our academic support is up to speed, and we're doing a really good job there. Mental health, we've hired a mental health professional to assist our student athletes. And then a big one for me, I think it's extremely important that we need to work on is our trainers and making sure we're doing everything we can do in terms of taking care of our student athletes from a medical standpoint.
A lot of the questions as well have to do with expectations for the athletic program. So tell us, what are the expectations, and to you, what does success look like?
Yeah, I think there's obviously multiple facets to that. We want to make sure our student athletes have a first-class experience here. We want to help them get their degree. We want to help them launch their careers when they leave A-State. And that's going to be a priority every day for us. And then we want to make sure we hire good people that do things the right way and operate with integrity. We really need to focus on fundraising and revenue generation so we can support our coaches and student athletes. The other thing is we want to compete for championships. I mean, I think I've talked about it maybe in my opening press conference, but if we're gonna play, we're gonna keep scoring, we're gonna try to win. And we had some success in cross country. Soccer had a really good season this fall, but we want to compete at the highest level, and that'll be the expectation. And I'm going to do everything I can to support our coaches and student athletes, and that starts even before they get here in terms of recruiting. Obviously, I came from Alabama. We had a lot of success, and it wasn't just football. Obviously, the basketball team is #2 in the country. Both golfs had won national championships, gymnastics, softball, and so on. But once you set the tone and you get it going in some of your higher profile sports, it really carries through to the whole department. So we want to compete for championships, and that starts with recruiting and getting the right people here at A-State to get that going.
All right, we're going to get to a lot of the questions later, but we do have one question that has been turned in this evening. We do for you, and we want to go ahead and ask it now. It's from Claude Rector. He wants to know, Jeff, what are the chances of making the Red Wolves versus Razorbacks an annual game?
Great question. And we do have, I know we've played Arkansas in some other sports, and we have them on the schedule for 2025 in Little Rock for football. But I would certainly love to play the Razorbacks more often. There have been some initial conversations, and I think everybody is probably more open to it than maybe they have been before. But that's something I'd love to speak to Hunter Yurachek at Arkansas a little bit more in depth in terms of seeing what we can get scheduled down the road. I think it's healthy to play your in-state schools, and I think we should play them in every sport possible.
All right, Jeff, we appreciate you joining us, and I know you're going to join us here in studio here in just a little bit for the Q&A. We'll talk to you here in just a little bit.
All right.
All right. So we go from Jeff Purinton in his office to our first in-studio guest of the night, and want to welcome in the Chancellor of Arkansas State University, Dr. Todd Shields. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me here.
Well, this is a neat event, and we heard from Jeff talk about just how important it is to have communication with the fan base. Talk about just how important it is to you.
Oh, absolutely. We want to be, and I share Jeff's value, being transparent and open about what we're trying to do and what we're trying to accomplish. And I feel like the best way to do that is to just be open and make sure we have as much communication as we possibly can with the fans.
Let's talk about you and your journey so far here at Arkansas State. You came in about the same time Jeff did.
Just a little bit
Actually,
after.
a little
Yeah, that's
bit
right.
after him.
Yeah, February 14th will be 7 months for me.
All right, so coming up on that 7-month
Exactly.
anniversary, and talk about that communication between you and Jeff. How's that been so far?
Well, it's been fantastic. I mean, I love working with Jeff and the staff. They've been fantastic. And Jeff and I talk all the time. The academic side and the athletic side, I feel like is always very much to be successful long-term, they have to be on the same page. I can point to lots of different programs where if there's any kind of a rift, then something hurts. Either the academic side hurts or the athletic side hurts. And we've not had that at all. In fact, we're working together on fundraising. We're working together on student events. We're working together on everything we can.
Let's talk about some of the questions that have been submitted here. And in fact, you have a couple of questions that have been submitted for you this evening. First off, Cliff Causey from Maumelle says, I would like an explanation of our athletic funding and the limitations placed on us by state of Arkansas legislation.
Well, that's a great question. I'll try not to be too much of a history professor here, but in the 90s, the legislature decided that universities in Arkansas were limited to actually at that point, a 1% of their E&G budget could go to athletics. Governor Beebe in 2013 raised it to 2%. I think you're seeing a graphic right here that just kind of shows you where we are for athletics compared to our peers. By law, we are limited to 2%. It's Act 1397, if anybody's interested in actually looking that up. But we are limited to 2% of our E&G that can go to athletics, which really does hurt us in terms of competing with our competitors. It is something that we're concerned about. Of course, there's probably, a dozen, 15 schools in the nation that have foundations that fund all of their athletics, what's going on. So that rule doesn't apply to them, but for everybody else, it does apply. So it does hurt us and other institutions in the state.
Question from Wade Stark. He is from Jonesboro. He wants to know, does the administration think A-State can be top tier in all programs, and how?
So I absolutely do. I think we've got the people in place to make it happen. I think that it has a lot to do with recruiting. I know that the portal has made some changes in the football arena and that type of thing, and name, image, and likeness, which I think we're coming back to a little bit later. We're still trying to figure that out, but as long as we're still able to recruit really top students in all these different sports, I really think that we have the people in place to make it happen. I mean, Jeff may not be bragging on himself that much, but Jeff has been a part of growing programs to the top tier. Lots of different sports at the same time. And so anybody that can do it, I know it's Jeff.
You know, Jeff talked about his priorities for the athletic department a little bit earlier. Talk about the university's just overall support and the alignment it has with these priorities.
So the alignment is step in step. I mean, we're in agreement on everything. And one of the things that we're trying to do on the academic side is increase enrollment, because like I said before, as enrollment increases, we can have more money to spend on academics and athletics. When we have decreasing enrollment, that decreases that 2%, right? So one of the main things we're trying to do on the academic side is make sure our enrollment goes up so that we do have money to spend on lots of different things.
You know, from the university side, obviously we're going to hear a lot from the athletic side tonight, and you know, that's kind of what this is geared towards. But if there's an overall message you want everybody out there to hear from you tonight, what would that be?
My message would be just that I have so much faith in this team. I have so much faith in these coaches and in this sports team and Jeff Purrington. I am meeting with them very regularly. I'm going on recruitment events with them. Since it's just been the first 7 months, the first 3 months, I felt like I was just drinking from the fire hose, right? But we have been absolutely meeting a lot more lately, and we'll continue to do that. From my side, I don't think that the campus can succeed if athletics doesn't succeed. Athletics is really the gateway to the community. That's what the community thinks about. So most of the community comes to see. So athletics has to be a main priority for the entire campus to succeed, and for that matter, for Jonesboro to succeed. So it has a top spot in my priority list, and we're walking step in step. There's really no disagreements there at all.
All right, same thing with Jeff. You're going to take a break for a little while. You're going to rejoin us here in a little bit.
Sounds
Great to have you here, Chancellor.
I'm glad to be here.
All right, that's A-State Chancellor Dr. Todd Shields joining us on set, and we're going to go back to Zoom now. We've got our next Zoom guest coming up right now. It's our Deputy Athletic Director for Development and Revenue Generation. Let's welcome in our friend, Brandon Cunningham. How you doing, Brandon?
I'm great, Matt. How are things going with you?
Fantastic. And, you know, Jeff was announced in May. Dr. Shields just mentioned he was here in July. You came in a little bit after that. What's your experience been so far here at Arkansas State?
Yeah, so I think Dr. Shields referenced drinking from a fire hose, and that couldn't be more true for my situation. I came down for the first home football game, shook about probably 500 hands at the game, and now I can actually say I remember a lot of those people. And went back to Morgantown, packed up my car, and drove down. So I've started, you know, at the beginning of this past football season. Family's here now, and they're getting adjusted to the Jonesboro community, so that's been great. The kids are acclimated in school. And as far as A-State as a community, it's been great so far. We have a lot of passionate and loyal fans that I've had the privilege to meet. They know what success looks like, which is great because, you know, we're fortunate to work at a place where they know what it's like to win. So you don't have to really instill that culture in them, but that also helps us setting the vision and setting the tone of what we want to do. So now that the dust is settled, I've been pretty active on reaching out to a lot of our donors just to try to set up meetings, calls to make the introduction, so they can see me, put a name with a face, and really just listen to them and thank them for their support. I don't think that we can do that enough. So that's been a big focus right now.
You know, we gave your big title off the top, and people hear development and revenue generation, but the bottom line is your job is to create support for the athletic program. So what does support mean to you?
Yeah, so I think support can be interpreted in a lot of different ways. I mean, obviously, you know, the bare bones of it is becoming a Red Wolves Foundation donor. And that starts with giving philanthropically, giving transactionally, whatever suits people's needs, purchasing tickets, whether that be getting season tickets for football games, basketball games, volleyball, baseball, whatever. Attending all of our events that we have. You know, we have several that we have and several that we plan to hopefully launch this spring to kind of kick off some things with our coaches. And then obviously supporting, you know, some of our local vendors with buying merchandise. So I think all of that works. You know, we referenced the graphic earlier about the Sun Belt and the operating costs and, you know, the 2.0%. I think all of us need to be all in. And whatever that looks like to each particular person, that's kind of up to their endeavors. But our staff is here for support. And really, we just want people to be all in and be a part of our family and be a part of what we're building here. We try not to take for granted the fact that people choose to support us. They don't have to support us. And that's a big thing that we tell our staff all the time.
What about some of the initiatives that the Red Wolves Foundation is currently working on? What can you share with us tonight?
Yeah, so just to kind of talk about it organically for a little bit, the Red Wolves Foundation, we exist to provide private support for Arkansas State athletics. And that's for our student athletes, our sports programs, our coaches, administration, whatever the need is, that's something that we're able to provide. Currently, what we're looking at, you know, earlier this month, for everyone out there that has season tickets, we launched our ticket and donation renewals, wanted to put everything in one place to give people a snapshot of what it looks like throughout the course of the year as they're making their decisions on what they want to renew, how many tickets they want to get, if they want to improve their seating location, whatever that looks like. We've also, like I mentioned earlier, been really trying to focus on, now that we have our feet underneath of us and we don't feel like we're really treading water, really ramping up our efforts for outreach to our donors and our supporters. And that's on one-on-one individual visits to try to reach out and meet with people in Jonesboro. I've made a couple of trips to Little Rock, to Memphis to try to get out and see people outside of Jonesboro. And then also looking at some event planning that we want to do that's also going to put us in front of our members. We are going to be launching with our renewals, and other people that don't get the renewals are still going to have access to it, but our membership guide, credit to our staff, we've been working really diligently on that. I think you take for granted that some of those things are in place at a lot of athletic institutions, and we've really had to kind of build that from the ground up. And that's really going to help educate people on what it means to be a donor, what it means to support the Red Wolves Foundation. Our staff, along with the marketing team and the external units, have really been trying to plan for 2023 for the football season, so that when that schedule is launched, at the beginning of March, that we've got our ducks in a row and we know what it's going to look like for everything from a hospitality game day experience to season tickets, offers, promotions, anything of that nature. And then, the other thing that we've also really put an emphasis on is just Jonesboro as a community. We're looking to try to build relationships with a lot of our businesses. A lot of that has been done through Learfield and our partnerships with them. And, you heard Dr. Shields mention it, the direct correlation between the success and growth of Arkansas State and the city of Jonesboro, they go hand in hand. So we want to make sure that if people are here as Jonesboro continues to grow, they know that Arkansas State athletics is going to have a big part in that and a big emphasis on that. So we're trying to be out more in the community, especially with our Learfield partners, and looking at what ways we can help different businesses in the community. And then the last thing that I'll focus on that we've really been working on right now is really looking at some of our upcoming initiatives and our projects that we have. That's going to be a document that we're going to put in front of everybody so that they really know, a menu of everything that we have to offer that we're going to be actively raising money for. And that can be everything from whatever it looks like to do for baseball. When Jeff and I got here, we had heard something about renovating the current project, building something downtown. So we want to get our ducks in a row, make sure we understand what the best interest for our student athletes and our baseball program is going to be. But that's going to be a big, big project for us to partake in. And then from there, it trickles down to, a practice facility for our men's and women's golf programs, upgrading the football practice fields, some nutritional needs that we have for our student athletes, study hall, and then something even as little as adding lights and bleachers so that our soccer program and our track and field can host conference championships and compete at different times of the day. So it's a wide range of things that we're working on that are kind of on our plate right now, but we're really excited to be sharing that with our donors and our fans.
We continue to visit with Brandon Cunningham. He is the Deputy AD for Development and Revenue Generation at Arkansas State. Brandon, we got a couple of minutes left with you, and we got about 4 questions we want to get to, so we can kind of go rapid fire here to finish off with you. We got a question here tonight from David Gardner of Little Rock. He wants to know, what are the department's biggest needs?
Yeah, so we really break our needs into different areas. We have our annual giving, which are donations that are tied to tickets and parking. And we have a benefits chart that we can, put up on the graphic there if we have it, to kind of show people what those benefits look like for people that support our annual fund and that are giving to that area. We also have our major giving. And that's really what the university and what the advancement team looks at. They consider a major gift to be $25,000 payable over a 5-year period. Those support philanthropic needs that we have, like the fundraising initiatives that I mentioned, or one-off needs for each specific sport. We also have booster clubs, which is our 1200 club that supports football, 6-man, our Swing and Howl club that supports our golf programs. Those help address immediate needs of support for those specific programs, like recruiting, nutrition, operating expenses, stuff like that. And then the last bucket that we have that's kind of separate from athletics, but it's still tied to what we're doing, is name, image, and likeness. And I know that we've hit on that a little bit, but that's the current landscape that we're living in right now. Obviously, that with the state of Arkansas, the rule states that can't be funneled through the athletic department directly. So we can kind of play middleman on a lot of those things. But there is going to be a collective that will be launched that's in the works right now that'll be headed up by Davey Carter and Chris Woodard, 2 of our prominent boosters that have been really helpful with kind of getting that off the ground and have already been really helpful. So that's going to be a big area as well in terms of some of the biggest needs that we have as a department.
Question coming in from Drew Robertson. He's from Little Rock. He wants to know, how can young alumni with currently limited funds best support A-State athletics?
Yeah, so there again, going back to support, obviously they can support any which way that I mentioned earlier, but in terms of supporting philanthropically or through financial means, people don't have to be a big donor to make an impact and support our student athletes. On our benefits chart, we have the basic level is $100 for a year to be a Red Wolves Foundation member. I mean, $100 a year, Matt, when you break it down, that's cheaper than a monthly subscription to Netflix, Amazon Prime, ESPN Plus. So if you break that down monthly, that's really not a whole lot for people to feel active and support and start building points and priority points that we use for things like bowl game travel assignments, NCAA appearances for different programs. And then the big one is going to be the game in Little Rock against Arkansas for football in 2025. A lot of that's going to be helping those people feeling like they're engaged and feeling like their support, because like I said earlier, all of us need to be all in. It's going to be a grassroots effort that's really going to take all of us. So I would say to Drew that, you know, any gift is not going to be, you know, turned away or anything like that. And everyone should feel good about the way that they support Arkansas State Athletics and our Red Wolves Foundation, because everything matters and every gift is essential to what we need to be successful and take that next step.
Got a question here from Robert Cuppet. He wants to know, when will the plans be put out about donation tiers and levels?
So right now, those things are actively at the printer with our membership guide, and anyone that has a season ticket renewal, it's going to go into that packet. Also with a letter that kind of explains it. I kind of been joking with our staff. It's like our Red Wolves Foundation 101. So that'll go out with there. We also have ordered additional copies so that when our staff and our outbound sales team are out meeting with people that are currently not Red Wolves Foundation donors or that are currently not season ticket holders, we have that to leave with them to educate them and kind of show them what we're all about and what we're able to do. And then the fundraising initiatives piece that I mentioned, that's going to be geared specifically towards what each sport needs. That's going to be, you know, we finalize all of that. We just need to create the graphic and make sure that we can get that out into the printer, but that shouldn't take too long. So I would say definitely, you know, by the spring or early summer is when our staff is going to be armed and equipped to be able to go out and meet with people and show them what we're all about.
And one more question here. This is from Aaron Mahandro. He wants to know, is A-State going to bring the coaches caravan back to Memphis this spring?
That is the plan, to bring the caravans back. We have not set the locations yet, but we've been working closely with our advancement offices, with the Alumni Association. There again, with all of us being very new, we want to make sure that we're strategic and know kind of where the stops have been in the past, but also ones where we can bring our coaches out in the communities and make sure that they're seeing supporters and donors all across the state. And if that means going outside of the state to different pockets like Memphis, St. Louis, Dallas, Texas, wherever that may be, if we don't get it this year, we're going to keep a going list of things that we can try to do to bring our coaches and our administration out to see people. And like I said, really just listen, introduce ourselves and thank them in person and kind of show them what our staff is about and what we're planning to do for the future.
Brandon, if people want to contact you, what is the best way they can do that?
So email bcunningham@astate.edu. And then my direct line here at the office is 870-972-3005. Also, if you call our main office is at the Red Wolves Foundation, you know, it'll get to me some way or another, but I try to stay pretty active in checking phone calls and voicemails and emails and getting caught up with people. So I'm usually pretty easy to get a hold of.
Well, Brandon, we appreciate you joining us tonight. Again, that's Brandon Cunningham, the Deputy Athletic Director for Development and Revenue Generation here at Arkansas State. Brandon, Wolves up.
Wolves up. Thanks, Matt.
All right, we want to remind everybody before we get to our next guest here that if you're watching over Zoom, you can still submit questions. We're already getting to a bunch of those questions already. Submit those questions. If you're watching on the Zoom link, just go to the Q&A tab at the bottom and you can submit your questions there. Want to bring in our next guest as we continue along here on State of the Pack Live. We want to welcome in the head football coach of the Red Wolves. Hello, Butch Jones.
Matt, how you doing? Hope you're having a great night. And as always, you're doing a great job.
Well, I appreciate that, Coach. And you know, we were talking the other day just about this time of year, and you know, you're about to close out the signing period coming up here in the next few days. You got spring practice coming up very, very soon. You said this is one of your very favorite times of the whole year.
Well, it's an exciting time because there's so many things going on, and the recruiting calendar has really kind of changed over time, and you have to continue to evolve. And as we know, we concluded the first signing period. We're into the second signing period now, and then we'll have another signing period basically when the portal opens up back again. But to be able to have our first signing class back-to-back top rated classes in the Sun Belt, and we'll be top 5 in the country again. We're very excited about that. Then we welcome 13 individuals into our program that have started with our team. So not only are we in the middle of recruiting, but we're also now started our growth and development program with this coming team. So it's always exciting to get these individuals back and get going on campus again.
You know, you talk about recruiting and you mentioned back-to-back #1 recruiting classes for your team. And, you know, that's been such a priority ever since you arrived at Arkansas State, especially with high school recruits. But just here in the past couple of seasons with the transfer portal, NIL, the collectives around the country that are popping up everywhere, things have now changed significantly for you. Talk about that.
Well, they have changed significantly, and it's making sure that you're staying on the cutting edge and you're staying ahead of the trends, and also being able to predict what's next and staying ahead of the curve, so to speak. And we're excited because, you know, when we came here, we made a commitment that we needed to build a foundation, and we're going to build that foundation through high school recruiting and high school football players. And we knew we'd be going through some growing pains, which you all have gone through those growing pains, but to have the 2 consecutive classes now, we now have a foundation for sustained success for a very long period of time. So in this class, we were able to sign 20 high school players and then supplement that with 12 individuals in the transfer portal. And then we'll continue to add to this class on the next signing period, and then obviously into the transfer portal as well. But it's been a different dynamic. But, you know, to have the classes that we had, this has been a year-round process, and it takes a commitment by everybody involved. This is the lifeblood of our football program. It's the expectation. And when we concluded last year's class, we said we had to out-recruit that class into this class, and we were able to do that. But it starts really with relationships. Right now, we're recruiting for next year already. The summer months are big of getting these prospective student athletes to campus, getting them in camps, being able to evaluate them. So the 20 individuals that we were able to sign, that was really a year to year and a half to 2-year process of building relationships and evaluating them. And we took an approach that even though, and I told every prospective student athlete I met with, yeah, you're picking us, but we're also picking you. And I think this is a time and age of recruiting, that having a recruiting profile and having a foundation for which you're going to recruit to, I think it's never been more important than you look at the GPAs. That's usually how well they're going to do in school. You look at their character and really their love for football. And then every player understanding that if they come to Arkansas State, they're going to be held to a very high standard of excellence, not only on the field, but off the field as well.
You know, this program tonight is a lot about how fans can help, how they can get involved and support our athletic programs, the football program included. And we're going to get into the collectives a little bit later on, but we got a question here from Adrian Everett of Jonesboro and Arkansas State. He wants to know, can faculty and staff be involved in the recruiting process of a student athlete?
Well, yes, they can. And Dr. Shields spoke about that earlier today, is that, you know, his involvement in our recruiting efforts has been paramount. And he's been so giving of his time on Saturdays to be able to present the image for the university. Dr. Kern, our faculty athletics rep, is involved in all those breakfasts. Jeff Puritan is at every event. He's even at my house on the Saturday night. And one of the interesting things we do so they can get to see our personalities is with the families, with the parents. We do karaoke at my house on Saturday evenings. Now, Jeff has yet to do karaoke. So that's kind of the next phase in recruiting, where we're hoping he takes the next step. But all these individuals are very important. We have a number of professors that actually show up for our breakfast on Saturday, which is dedicated to academics. And that's how we start off Saturday, because obviously that's the first and foremost of our program. It's the most important. But I think the other thing is the positivity, the message boards, the chat rooms. You know, we have parents go in just when they stop at local restaurants. You know, they're asking, you know, everyone involved that they see, you know, tell us about Arkansas State football. So I think just the positivity. I think the other thing is the game day experience. Is a lot of these individuals will make unofficial visits for game day, and they want to come check out the tailgating. They want to see what type of student involvement we have with our student section, kind of see the involvement of our fans, kind of feel the pageantry that surrounds Arkansas State football on game day. So there's a lot that goes into the recruiting process, but our faculty and staff have played a big part of it. When I say it takes a family to really raise a recruiting class or to really recruit a recruiting class, that's all encompassing, and our faculty and staff have really done a remarkable job for us.
And we'll kind of build on that and wrap it up with this, but it takes the faculty and staff to buy in, the fans, the supporters of the program to buy in. But first, it really took the players, everybody inside that building to buy in. That's what you've been trying to do since you arrived on campus. You wanted to create your own culture. You wanted that buy-in from your student athletes, and you walk around that facility right now and you've got a lot of guys that are bought into what you're trying to do.
Well, I think, Matt, when you walk through it, you could feel it. You could feel the ownership now, the passion for being at Arkansas State. And I'm glad you brought that up, because really our players have been our biggest ambassadors. They've been our top recruiters. They spend so much time with these student athletes when they come on campus. And we even do what we call a player panel. We'll have 8 to 10 players up on the stage in our team room, and there's no coaches. It's just players, parents, and our current team, and they can ask any question that they want. They're very transparent. And so our players have been remarkable. And a lot of places, you know, in the community, I brought up in the press conference of, you know, individuals giving us their planes. You know, when you're in a recruiting footprint like we are, you have to go all over the country to assemble a top-ranked recruiting class. In this class, we had 12 states represented. And so I only get one visit with each prospective student athlete. So, you know, the lending of the private planes are absolutely critical. We had 3 individuals step up. We really need to be able to have more as we continue to grow and elevate our recruiting and our recruiting classes. You look at the restaurants that have really been actively involved, the Parsonage. We start our Fridays off with the social with bowling, and that's been a great first impression of Jonesboro and our community, and it's always busy and packed so they can feel the energy and the excitement. You know, we go down to Omar's at times if we have a smaller group. So there's a lot of people that are really actively involved. Probably our home run hitter is Twan Lee of the Yard. He does a full spread buffet for our lunch. And when I ask the kids to pick their favorite meal, he does a remarkable job. He even talks to our recruits. He talks what it is about being on campus at Arkansas State. So he's been a great ambassador for us as well.
Well, Coach, great to see you. And hey, good luck as we get closer to signing day. Looking forward to spring practice and everything we're going to see there.
Well, thanks again. And obviously you're the best, and Wolves up.
All right, that's A-State head football coach Butch Jones joining us via Zoom. We're going to bring in our next guest now to the set, another head coach here at Arkansas State. I want to welcome in the director of A-State track and field and cross country for the Red Wolves. It's Dr. Jim Patchell. How you doing, Coach?
Good. How are you, Matt?
Yeah, doing great. Yeah, this is a pretty neat event. You know, you've been here a long time now, and to be able to interact with the fans like this, I'm sure this has got to be pretty cool for you.
Oh, this is a first for me. This is an awesome event. I hope that we had a lot of people tune in.
All right, I'm going to embarrass you a little bit
Okay.
here. 22 Sun Belt titles, 16 Sun Belt Coach of the Year honors, 2 straight women's triple crowns. Enter the indoor season with 3 straight sweeps of the Sun Belt Indoor Championship. So many accomplishments, but is there something you're most proud of during your time at Arkansas State?
Well, I'm proud of the student athletes that I've coached over the years. You know, winning and championships are nice, and that's what we do this for. As long as they keep score, we're going to try to win it. But the quality people that we have recruited, our staff, and you know, just being able to do something I'm passionate about. Not everybody gets to do the job that I do. There are I think about 330 Division I schools that sponsor track and field. And so there's only 329 other head coaches. And so that's a very small group, and I'm very lucky to be able to do it.
You know, we hear a lot about the word culture in athletics right now. What does it take for you, what does a winning culture consist of?
Well, when I came in 2011, we did not have a winning culture. It was, I went out the first day of practice, it was like the Bad News Bears. I mean, I thought we've got to make changes. The big change for us started in a team meeting in the fall of 2012, after our first recruiting class. I got everybody together. I broke them up into 5 different groups. I said, I gave them all a legal pad. So I want you to write down 10 things that any organization needs to have in place to be successful. It could be a sports team, it could be a business, it could be a church, it doesn't matter. And so we did that. I took them up. They weren't all the same, but we had 4 themes across all groups that wrote this down. And we made that our standard, our mission statement, our team motto. We call it our standard. Number 1, we're committed to excellence in everything we do, and that means what it says. From your relationships with your friends and family, to your academics, to, if you have a part-time job, anything that you pursue, you've got to give it the best you can. Number 2, we place a high degree of importance on moral integrity, character, honesty, trustworthiness in all our actions. Track and field can, number 3, track and field can sometimes be an individual sport, and we celebrate that. But we pursue it as a team. We want to promote a positive team atmosphere. On the last point, God's given us all gifts, and these student athletes, one of their gifts is athletics. And it's our responsibility while we are at this institution to develop that and take it as far as we can. And if we operate under that standard, we don't need a lot of team rules. I do have 2 team rules: do the right thing and don't be late. But if we operate, rules are things you can and can't do. A standard is how you live every day. And this is not something that we just talk about on shows like this or in a recruiting visit. We live this every day, and that's made the difference.
Great rules and standards to live by. Now, you've got a unique perspective in the fact that you were also a student athlete here at Arkansas State.
Yeah, that was a thrill for me. I wasn't the best athlete. I was a pretty solid conference guy. I wasn't, an All-American or a national champion or anything, but I scored a few points usually in the conference championships. But it was a great experience. But I came in the late '80s. Back then, guys came from all over the world to train here in Jonesboro. You'd walk out the track, and there'd be a gold medalist over there, and across the track there's a bronze medalist. There's a world record holder, and being a kid. That makes a difference. And then even on the team, we had guys that were, some of the best in the nation and some of the best in the world. And just being around those type of people lift you up.
The indoor season is now underway and really starting to get into full swing. I know you guys were in Nashville this past weekend. You've got a couple of different places you're going to be sending athletes to coming up. Kind of talk about this year's team and what's ahead.
Well, we have actually a fairly young team, but we have a talented team, and we had a great cross country season. And our early meet in December, we were some of the kids that we haven't seen yet compete. It was interesting to see them get out on the track and compete, and we were pleased with it. And we came back after Christmas break, where hopefully they went home and did what they're supposed to do, and we usually do a pretty good job of that. But we came back in shape and ready to go. Had a pretty good meet last week at Vanderbilt, but none of that matters until the conference championship. So we've got to get ready for that.
You mentioned cross country.
Yeah.
Great season. The men winning the conference championship and the women finishing second, and those programs in really good shape right now.
It is. Coach Duvall has done a great job with our cross country program and our, the distance kids and our distance events on the track. And, last year we won both, fell a little short on the women this year. We thought we had a shot, but Southern Miss was just better than us on that day. And sometimes that happens in sports. But also had, JB Schoffelberger qualify for the national championships. Only, I believe, the second female athlete, I believe, that we've had do that in cross country. So yeah, pretty happy with how cross country went. It's we don't get an off season. We just shift gears. That's all we do. So
And of course, really starting to get into full swing now. You've got the indoor season, and right after that, you go straight into outdoor.
right. Yeah. Yeah. We get a little break in March. Indoor is a fairly short season. 4 weeks from now, we're going to be in Birmingham competing for that conference championship for men and women. So, we're right in the thick of it, and we get a little bit of break in March to get ready for outdoor, but right now we're not even thinking about that yet.
We do have a question that's come in online tonight. This is from Jay Burr. He wants to know, what are the strengths of the team this year, Coach? Sprints, distance, field events?
Well, one of the reasons that we've had a lot of success is we're pretty strong in every event area. There's not one area where we can say, oh, well, okay, we're just counting on the throwers or we're counting on the distance runners. We count on everybody, and we recruit all event areas. As far as probably at a national level, probably our multi-eventers this year are probably the strongest at the national level. But as far as at the conference level, we've got good depth, and we can score points in any event area.
Well, Coach, fantastic to see you. Congratulations on all the success, and good luck this spring. There's a lot coming up.
There is. I appreciate it.
All right. That's Dr. Jim Patchell joining us here on set as we continue along. We do want to remind you as we go ahead, we still got a lot coming up. We've got a student athlete panel coming up here in the next 15 minutes or so. We've got Olivia Schmidt, Justin Parks, Izzy Higginbottom, all standing by. Also, Jeff Purinton and Dr. Todd Shields are going to be rejoining us at the end of the program for a special Q&A session. But right now, we've been looking forward to this. Joining us via Zoom, want to welcome in a very special guest, one of the greatest to ever put on an Arkansas State uniform. Last year was inducted into the A-State Hall of Honor. He's the heart and soul of the New Orleans Saints, was also just named All-Pro for the 4th consecutive year, and was named the Saints Man of the Year, is also their nominee for the Walter Payton NFL Man of the Year Award. Let's welcome in Demario Davis. There he is.
What's going on, good people? What's going on?
Well, Demario, great to see you. And I know you were here just over a year ago, back here on campus at A-State for the Hall of Honor recognition, a well-deserved honor. You going in to that very exclusive club. What was it like coming back to Jonesboro?
Oh my goodness. It was absolutely amazing, man. I remember showing up on that campus in June of 2007 with a dream of what the campus could become, what the team could become, and to have played there and see that play out, to be a part of one of those early championship teams, and then to go to see that being done 3 years in a row and 6 out of 8 years, and just being at the top of the conference in that elite category as we had saw the North Texas and the Troys do. And it was just a vision and a dream. But then to take that success with so many of the right people making the right decisions and putting that into play, but to take that winning edge and to make the program and the organization and the school to match that elite winning that was happening on the field was just tremendous. And to see that all play out and come back and years later was something that we had in our minds of what the school could become. It had became and has become, and it's continuing to grow. And just to know that we played such a small part in that, and that's really like your second home. And so it's just amazing. And so it's even more exciting now, just with all that's going on in the landscape of college football. That opportunity existed way back in 2007, and here we are in 2023. And just to think of, man, kids are approaching and coming onto our campus with that same type of dream now. They can take it even further. And so what is it going to be in another 10 years from now? And I think that's what the mentality has to be.
you know, that era was so impressive, what you guys accomplished on the field, DeMario. But what impresses me is just the bond you still share with so many of your teammates. You guys are still so close. And, you know, I know guys like Ryan Applin and Philip Butterfield and Darius Dunaway have talked about how you guys will have a big group text going on at all times. And, you know, you talk about all sorts of things, whether it be football or life, but, you know, just the bond you guys created here at Arkansas State. Talk about that.
Well, that's the one thing that the game of football teaches better than anything is a brotherhood, is friendships and bonds. Whether you play it in the high school level, college level, pro level, is relationships that you carry with the rest of your with you for the rest of your life. Yeah, those guys aren't telling fibs, man. I'm in a group chat with those guys, and I've been talking with them all day. We talk about life, we talk about football, we talk about the program. Everybody's just so passionate about the program, really because of the brotherhood that was formed there. And when you have a bond that's formed in a locker room at a place like Jonesboro, Arkansas, at a school like Arkansas State, you're not only going to care about those relationships, you're going to care about the school and the program. And so we're always talking about that. And that's what I hope is that not only is that great moment in that elite time that we were a part of happened while we were there, and we reminisce on that, but how can we be a part of making sure that we get back to that level or beyond, and how do we play a part in that? And I think that's what we are most excited about.
Now, one thing we do want to get to, and I know one thing you want to talk about, and we've kind of hinted at it a little bit during the course of the program tonight, is the new collective for our student athletes. I want to know what's your thoughts on that. I also know that you're involved in the Arkansas State collective. So tell us what you can about what we've got going on as far as forming a new collective for our Arkansas State student athletes.
Yeah, well, it's a totally different landscape than when I played. But I'm very, very interested on the administrative side of all levels. You know, the high school level, the college level, and the pro level. At the pro level, of course, I'm working hand in hand with my agents and the general managers when it comes to contracts and negotiation with myself, with the team, with players and rosters and things like that, not just playing the game. On the high school level, I run a foundation where we train over 150 kids, and we've seen over 50 kids go to school on scholarship, and 25 Division I. And so at the college level, I never really had an entry point of where I felt like I saw myself and where I could really apply some of the knowledge that I've learned, other than just really supporting the school. But when this collective and NIL stuff started coming, I was like, you know what, this is interesting, because all NIL is the NFL or pro sports merged with, you know, salaries and contracts and marketing deals. It's just meshed over. What you're looking at with NIL really is free agents when it comes to recruiting players and players entering the transfer portal. So I reached out. I was actually talking with Dunaway, and I had been talking with Jeff and Butch. Those guys have been phenomenal, man. I commend them and all the work they're doing on campus. They've reached out multiple times. We've connected, and I let them know that, you know, when they started a collective, I wanted to be in contact with whoever was doing that, just so I can be a part of what's going on. That's something that can keep me engaged and tapped in with the program. But I think it's a tremendous opportunity to get in the game in the way that you're going to have to be in the game in this changing landscape of the NCAA. Players really have taken onus of their careers in their own hands. When I showed up to campus, you know, it was a 4-year full ride scholarship. We're not living in that day and age. That's just in society in general, right? When I was coming into college, people worked in jobs for 20, 30 years. The average length of a job now is 5 years, and somebody's going to change to go somewhere else. Much of a lily pad approach. And that's what you see, kids going to school and kind of going in the transfer portal, or going where they feel like they can get on the field and play, or they can get, you know, more money. And that's really the landscape of sports. You know, a coach is going to take a job where it's a better opportunity for his family, and now players have that opportunity. If I'm in the pros and I'm playing on one team and it's been good, but I enter free agency and a team wants to pay me more money or give me a better situation, I'm probably going to take that. That's just the business of it. It's never personal. And so just to understand that landscape in this changing dynamic, it is kind of the wild, wild west with the NIL right now because so many people are trying to learn on the fly. But the great thing about the wild, wild west is getting somewhere first. You're able to kind of get somewhere, put your stake in the ground, and be in a much better position. So it's kind of a race to who can get structured and set up the best, who can kind of put together the best funds, and who can use that efficiently to go out there and get the right players. Because at the end of the day, it's going to come down to the players on the field. You have whoever, most of the time is going to come down to the most talented bunch. And that's why when you're going after guys who are the top rated players, because you want to put the best product on the field. And when you got good players, it make coaching a whole lot easier. And that's what we want to be able to do is help get those right guys, because I believe that we had the success that we had because we had the right guys. And that's a credit not only to the coaches who were able to have tremendous success, such as Hugh Freeze, such as Gus Malzahn, Brian Harsin, all those guys who went on to bigger programs, but guys like Steve Roberts, who was a major part in bringing those guys into the facility. And so when you think about how all that comes together, it starts with being able to get the right guys. And because of the way the landscape is, you're going to have something like a strong collective that's needed to actually go after these players, because that's really the recruiting. It ain't no more about taking the trips. You look at free agency in the NFL, the way, ain't nobody taking a trip to Jacksonville to see how the facilities are. They're looking at the contract. And so that's just the name of the game. It's exciting because it's new, and I think it's an opportunity to get the community involved. This is like school spirit, because when you talk about a collective, it's about the community. It's about, we're going to really see who's passionate about Arkansas State, who's passionate about Jonesboro, because this is how you participate. And if you're passionate about your school, this really brings the community in to play a part and doesn't just leave it on the school and the people who are on staff at the school. This requires the entire community being involved and playing a part. And I heard a young alumni ask a question earlier about how they can be involved. And there's so many ways that you can be involved. This isn't just about raising a bunch of funds, though the funds are important, but it's about producing content. It's about having things that the players can get involved in the community and all those things.
We've got several questions that have come in for you tonight, DeMario, and Debbie Miller is tuning in from Searcy. She wants to know what factors made football turn around to being conference champions while you were here. What were the factors?
You have to have the right guys. You have to have the right guys. And what I mean by the right guys is guys who are willing to work hard, who are tough, who have great football IQ, and who are extremely talented. And they have to have good character. And what I mean by good character is if you don't get rid of the bad character, your strong leaders in the locker room are going to have a hard time, because they're not going to be able to push the team in the right direction. They're going to have to be trying to keep guys away from the guys who pull the guys in the wrong direction. It only takes one bad apple to spoil the bunch. And so having those guys with the right character, and that's something that we have to lean on the coaches, even at the collective. We have to lean on the coaches to make sure that they're going after the right guys and they're bringing them to us, and we're just helping try to bring those guys in. And I think the next part is the coaches. The coaches have to have guys who are bought in and really capture the heart of those players and have them motivated, ready to go out there on that field and fight, not only for each other and themselves, but for Arkansas State and Jonesboro. And I think when you have all those dynamics kind of coming together, there's nobody that you can't beat when you step out there on that field. We had, great upsets while we were here. We got teams like Texas A&M, but even playing Nebraska and Virginia Tech, always in those games, and then going multiple years of winning the conference undefeated when the best that we had did before was, 6-6. So I think it's just that mindset. And so you have to have those right guys that have that mindset. And then our coaching staff are going to use their skill set to turbocharge those guys and have them go out and compete. But at the end of the day, it comes down to be able to go and get the right players and then to be able to keep those good players, because that's what's going to make the program.
Got another question here, Mario, from Nick Ivy. Nick Ivy is from Jonesboro. He wants to know what would be the best reasons for any prospective athlete to come to Jonesboro.
Oh man, I think, and this is interesting because in the landscape that you're in, the really good players are Power 5 players, but every Power 5 doesn't have enough slots. So a place like Arkansas State gives them opportunity to compete at a high level and put their talents on display. I was sharing with guys in the collective that the unfortunate part of the landscape is a school like Arkansas State. Think back, we know this better than anybody. Think about our coaches. How many good coaches we had get poached from our program? So that same thing is going to happen to some of our players. So if a player comes into a school like Arkansas State, there's nothing that we really can do if an Ole Miss, an Auburn, a Tennessee comes in and wants our player. But we can give that kid an opportunity to come in and have a very successful 2 years and play in our program and help us win games, as our coaches that did before. We have coaches who came for literally 1 year, won a championship, and was gone. We got to enjoy the benefits, so it was a win-win. It was unfortunate that we had kids play for 4 coaches over 4 years, but that we had a ton of success in that time. So we have to take that same mentality with the players is, man, Arkansas State gives you a great place to continue to develop your game and play at a high level. Now, all those players won't become Power 5 level. They'll be really good group of 5 players. And those will be the ones that we retain from another group of 5 trying to come get our players. And that's just the mentality that we have. I think Arkansas State gives you that. It's a great community, a community that's going to wrap you in its arm and embrace you, because when you leave high school, the transition to college can be very challenging. And so you want to go somewhere where you're going to feel at home and feel the family, and never feel too far away from home where you don't get homesick. It's an opportunity in a campus from when I was there where you built great relationships, because it's the way the campus is kind of structured. Everybody kind of stays in the same spaces. So you get a chance to build a lot of great relationships and deep relationships. And we've had a ton of success. Guys have been able to come into our program and go on to have success in a lot of different spaces. And we have that to kind of tout, because every kid that comes to a college isn't going to the pros. But it does give them a place to come and continue their career, but also an avenue to be successful in a lot of different spaces, and a great community to be a part of. So Arkansas State is a phenomenal choice, and someone, when I'm talking to my players, I'm always trying to champion the Arkansas State. We had a tight end, Reed. He was actually a kid from my high school, so I was excited when he came.
Another question here from Angie Gallagher. Now, Angie's a huge Red Wolves fan, but she's also a huge Saints fan as well. And she says, DeMario, I'm so proud to see Red Wolves become Saints. What did you think when Kirk Merritt came on board with the Saints?
Oh my gosh, man. I was so excited. First of all, Kirk should have played a lot of snaps this year, and I don't know why he was not in the game. And he was one of the hardest workers in practice, and not just working hard, but making a ton of plays. And so he was somebody I just kind of took under my wing as soon as he got there. He was asking all kind of questions, and he just was a guy that came in, kept his head down, and worked. It's no wonder why he was such the player that he was when he was at our school. And I think he's going to have a phenomenal career. I definitely wish he would have got a lot more snaps this season, because, he is a baller. He is an absolute stud. but I'm excited if he can stay healthy, the type of career that he's going to have in the league. I don't see him. I see him being in the NFL for a long time.
One more question for you here, DeMario, and this comes from Jay Burr. And you talked earlier about, just your communication with Coach Jones, your communication with Jeff Purinton, and, you've seen this program now here at Arkansas State turn in back-to-back #1 recruiting classes. So the question from Jay is, how excited are you about the direction of the program?
I'm super excited. I think there are guys that are there that care about the program and are trying to build it structurally to be able to deal with the changing landscape that's happening inside of NCAA football. I mean, it is a lot of changing in the landscape. It is a entirely different game than it was 10 years ago and even 5 years ago. And I think there's a good group of people that are operating the program, that are doing everything that they can do to get it back into a successful fashion. And I'm appreciative of everybody that is, hands and feet on the ground, because man, it's a tough climate. But seeing all the work and the passion that everybody's putting into it, my schedule is crazy busy, so I'm not always able to be as tapped in as I would like to be. Lord willing, my career is I'm thankful to the Lord that my career is kind of descending out of the game. I don't know if that's 2 more years, 5 more years, but as I continue to kind of transition out of the game, I will be more hands-on with it and more tapped in. But I'm pleased, to say the least, with the hands and feet that are on the ground working. I'm excited to see where it goes. To be able to put together, back-to-back recruiting class is top recruiting class is exciting. It's about getting that product on the field and pulling that best out of it. That's really what's going to be most important, because we want to make good on that as it's coming in. It's such a changing landscape. I can point to an example such as Texas A&M. Last year they had the #1 recruiting class in the country, and it was a bunch of wildfires there. So that's just something that you understand it's just not cut and dry and that simple. And I'm so grateful to all the men and women that are involved in juggling all this in the midst of this changing landscape. Because one thing is for sure that I think we'll all be happy with is that 5 years down the line, we're going to have a great structure in this space, and we're going to be set for the long haul, and that's phenomenal. Because I believe every piece plays a part. Will we be 5 years from now? I don't know, but I know we'll be in a good position, because you look at how Coach Freeze and Coach Gus was able to take us to the championship. That was because Coach Roberts was there laying a great foundation. And so I think it takes that type of approach that can see the longevity of the program. And I think the people who are here are not just concerned with wins and losses as they are making sure that we're built the right way. And that's phenomenal, because we're going to need that.
He's A-State great, DeMario Davis. And DeMario, just couldn't be more proud of you and all of your success. We appreciate everything you do and continue to do for Arkansas State athletics. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Hey, thank you guys. Y'all be blessed. Wolves up.
All right, so that's DeMario Davis joining us now, or finishing up our conversation with him. I'm actually going to change sets now and walk across the room and come over here and join our student athlete panel. They've been waiting patiently all night. It's from A-State women's basketball, Izzy Higginbottom, Olivia Schmidt from A-State women's golf, and from the A-State football team, Justin Parks. How you guys doing? Well, here's what we're going to do. We're going to kind of go through, and we'll move the microphone here a little bit as we go along, but got a couple of questions for all of you, and then we'll kind of have a discussion with each of you individually as well. But I'll start with a question for all of you, just something general here. What does being a student athlete here at Arkansas State mean to you? We'll start with you, Izzy.
For me, it means everything just because like I grew up an hour away from almost an hour away from here, and both of my parents went to Arkansas State. So it's just super cool for me.
Olivia?
I would just say it's super special. It's always been my dream to play college athletics, and then I never knew like how special this would be. It's been the greatest experience of my life, and I wouldn't trade it for anything. So
It's been a great experience for me. You know, I was fortunate enough to be trained by two people that would that played here before when I was in Birmingham. So it's been really a blessing to me.
Got a question for all of you. This is from Will Draper of Jonesboro. Will wants to know, what are some positives you're looking forward to in Arkansas State athletics this year?
I think just continuing to see the fans and the community show up and support is really special to us and really cool to see. And I just think everybody here in the athletic realm is just looking forward to seeing our hard work pay off, because it's going to.
yeah, I really couldn't agree more with that. I think the fan engagement, it's been good, and I'm excited to see it get better, and then just us continue to win and just keep working hard.
Yeah, I would kind of piggybacking off them. Just continue to see the fan engagement and other athletes supporting other sporting events. You know what I'm saying? The football team going to the basketball games, basketball team going to the soccer games, anything. Just continue to support us.
I'll kind of follow up with you on that, Justin. And I know we did a podcast here in the last couple of weeks, and we kind of talked about getting, those other football players out to those basketball games. And one of the big bright spots here in the last couple of months is, seeing that student section, filled up for those home basketball games. And a lot of those students that are there are student athletes.
Yeah, we like to support, all the other sports, and then especially going to a basketball game after having to do homework, just schoolwork all day. We just want to support our team. Now it's just all about getting the student section up, jumping around, having people going there, no shirts on, just paint all over it, just making it more exciting, making it like how college basketball is supposed to be.
Are you going shirtless for these games?
I'm trying to. I need more people to get with me. I'm gonna be the only one out there shirtless, how it's looking. So
All right. Question, well, we'll keep it with you, Justin, since you've got the microphone. But, one thing we've seen you do is really step up and be a leader of the football team, whether it be in the locker room, in the community, media-wise. What drives you to kind of keep doing everything you're doing?
I feel like God put me here to be a leader. Honestly, it's because ever since I played middle school ball, I've been considered a leader. Sometimes it was a little uncomfortable for me being a leader. You have people, a leader's not always liked, but I just keep finding my way in that position, and I'm finally accepting it. Just doing everything I can so like younger people can look up to me, and I can be something that people wanna be.
You were very active in helping recruit this #1 recruiting class. And I know one thing we talked about in our recent interview was just, being on that player panel. Coach Jones talked about that when he joined us earlier, having that player panel to kind of make those prospective recruits feel comfortable when they came to campus. That's a big deal, and, a big part of what we're trying to build with the culture here.
Yeah, I've really been enjoying doing it. I'm glad the coaches, trust me enough to do something like that. And I always give people good feedback, honest feedback about the university. And I'm just blessed to be in this position, honestly. And I'm taking that challenge and I'm running with it.
You excited about spring practice getting here?
Yes, sir. I am just taking it one day at a time. Trusting the process. I don't like to, too much wish my life away, but I'm just taking it every day at a time.
And one thing we talked about recently as well was the fact that, look, 2-10 your first year. I know there was a big turn in the culture, 3-9 last year, but there was a huge difference when you look at what happened a year ago. 5 of those games that you lost, you were leading in the fourth quarter. That's one thing you and your teammates talk about a lot, being able to finish games in the fourth quarter.
That's been a big emphasis this whole offseason, just in the workouts and everything we do. Honestly, it's just finishing in the fourth quarter, You know, we got this chant, fourth quarter, our quarter, you know, before we start doing the assault bite. You know, we just got to win those games in the fourth quarter, you know, and that's what we do every day in the off season. You know, we challenge each other when we're doing a rep. You know, we want to bring out the best in our teammates. So we got to create an uncomfortable environment because we want to play in those uncomfortable environments. So that's just something we have to do.
Justin, we're glad to have you here. Let's hand the mic over here to Olivia Schmidt. Big part of the golf program. I know that, and from our visits before, you've talked about just not only your love for the golf program here, but you're like Justin and Izzy. I mean, you guys all are just passionate about Arkansas State athletics as a whole.
For sure. I mean, greatest place on earth, to be quite honest. I've met so many amazing people in my, 5 years now here, which is, I'm blessed to even have an extra year here. So yeah, I mean, not much to say. Super proud.
Well, and that, Jeff Purinton has talked about it too. When he goes to some of these events, you've already been to before. You're kind of able to help him out.
No.
How's that experience been like?
I mean, he's good on his own. I'm just there I've just been to the meetings, I've done my thing, and he's perfectly good. I look up to him greatly. So,
Well, as far as your golf journey goes, you've been able to break records. You're the most accomplished golfer now in A-State women's history. Did you ever think that this would all happen?
No, I did not think.
It's okay to say.
Yeah. No, I did not. I just worked really hard, and I'm just thankful for the opportunity. I play for the best coach in the country. She is awesome. And without her and without all the athletic department and the donors and everybody who put so much time and money into us, I would not have been able to do anything that I've already done. So
You have already competed at LPGA Q School. In fact, you missed the cut by one stroke.
I did, yeah.
And,
Thank you for
you-
bringing that up.
You're going to make it at one point, but we're glad you're still here.
Yes.
Also competed in the Patriot All-American Tournament.
Yes.
What were those experiences like for you?
To be honest, they were really scary. I've never really been in those situations before. They're very high pressure. LPGA Q School especially, that's been my dream forever. Well, not for, everyone wants to play professional sports. So that was really hard for me, and missing by one, it's just giving me more time here, which is awesome. And then the Patriot All-American was a moving experience. Playing for people who have laid their life down for my freedoms is something that I'll never take for granted. So being able to represent them was super special.
Olivia, it's great to have you here. Let's hand the mic over here to Izzy. And Izzy, your situation is kind of unique. You actually are from Northeast Arkansas, but started your collegiate career last year. You had a chance to play in the SEC, and you were playing a lot at Missouri as a true freshman. What was it that made you want to come here to Arkansas State after that?
So just a few different factors. I knew when I was thinking about entering the transfer portal, I wanted to play for my home state. And I truly believe that Arkansas State is the perfect place to do that. So I'm super grateful and blessed to be here now. And just the cherry on top was seeing Coach Destiny Rogers get the head coaching job. And because she's just one of those coaches, that a player will run through a brick wall for. And she's a great leader, and I would go to battle for her any day of the week, twice on Sunday. So yeah, super grateful.
Well, and you talk about just the world of recruiting now, and look, if you don't get a recruit, if you're a head coach, who knows? They may transfer down the road. You still get that relationship in place. You already had a good relationship with Coach Des before you even went to Missouri, so that relationship was already in place.
Correct. Yeah, definitely the relationship part of this job for now is so important to athletes, because you want to be able to count on your coach and play for a genuine coach, and she's definitely that. So super grateful for the relationship that I already had and have continued to build.
As far as the team goes, I know there was a recent rough stretch. I know everybody's been battling through injuries. You've been battling through your own injuries as well, but it was a positive week last week. You guys go on the road, able to get the win at South Alabama, lost by 1 in overtime in Lafayette. Seemed like there were a lot of things to build on.
Definitely. We are making strides right now. We've definitely had to overcome a few obstacles, but we're making progress, competing every day in practice. The coaches are definitely making practice hard for us so that games can be easier. And I think that we're starting to see that pay off.
All right, we've got a couple more questions just for all of you. One is, if you could all say one thing to the donors that make your experience possible at Arkansas State, what would you say to them?
I would just say we appreciate you and everything that you do to make our experience what it is, because it just wouldn't be the same without you guys.
I'd obviously just say thank you. Everything you give, not only financially, but your time and coming to all of our stuff and having the chance to even meet some of you has just been an awesome experience. So just thank you and hope to see you out there.
I would just say thank you. I really enjoyed last year before this season. We kicked off with an event, with the donors. We had an auction, and it was just really fun to interact with y'all. And I just say thank you. I try to capitalize on everything that this university has to offer. Thanks to y'all.
You can hold on to the microphone there. Jay has a question. He wants to know, how much are y'all able to keep up with the other sports and programs on campus?
As much as possible. Like I said, like if I'm interpreting the question right, I would just say like just interacting with other sports, like going to games, just talking with people. You just see somebody from another sport in your communications class, and you just get to talk to them. That just something I enjoy doing.
Yeah, I would say the same thing. I try and go to every sporting event that I can. Also getting involved in SAC, the Student Athlete Advisory Committee, and just meeting a bunch of them and leading and getting involved in our community the best we can.
Yeah, just like what they said, in off season, when other sports are playing, we all try to, go watch them and support each other. And so that's just really cool to see.
Well, the three of you represent the very best here at Arkansas State and Arkansas State athletics. We're thrilled to have you here tonight. Thanks for coming, and good luck the rest of the way.
Thanks for having us.
All right, that's Izzy Higginbottom, Olivia Schmidt, and Justin Parks. We're going to bring in Jeff Purinton and Chancellor Dr. Todd Shields one more time back to the set for a final Q&A session. Great job by everybody tonight. Everybody's been
as well.
fantastic. Our guest, great visit with Demario Davis just a moment ago. And as we're rejoined by Jeff and Todd, guys, we'll get to the Q&A here in just a minute, but just kind of your overall impressions of everything you've heard tonight.
Yeah, I think it's been outstanding. I appreciate our staff. I mean, this has been a lot of hard work by a lot of our people, and days, and I think everything has gone very smooth. If there's been any glitches, I haven't even noticed. And if you look at the production here and people doing the interviews from their offices, Demario joining, I mean, you had a lot of moving parts. So I give a lot of credit to our staff, and thanks to everybody for joining us.
Yes, just a hope to continue to have more communications with the fans and the community. You see what great athletes we have here. Student athletes here are fantastic. You can see the coaching staff. You can see the alumni and how the passion's here. Building a program, there's a lot of great things on the way.
All right, so we've got a lot of questions still to get to. We said we'd kind of save this for the end of the program, and we'll start with a question from Charlotte Razor. She's from Mountain Home, and Charlotte says, seems like our recruiting is better in football now, but how do we up the recruiting in basketball and baseball?
Yeah, football recruiting has been going very well, obviously documented by the class or the last two classes we've signed. This was my first cycle with Coach Jones. I met with tons and tons of not only football recruits this fall, but all of our sports. I tell our coaches, I will never turn down a meeting with a potential recruit or their families. And I don't know if it's so much the recruit, but the parents want to know that their their son or daughter are going to be well taken care of here. And I enjoy it. I get to meet a lot of new people. And then in terms of the best practices, we actually talked about it in our head coaches meeting. We meet once a week, all of our head coaches. And one of the things we try and do is at the end of the meeting, come up with a topic that everybody can relate to, and maybe we can share some ideas. Everything in college athletics is usually not a bunch of new ideas. You can take some good ideas from other schools or people. But I think we were able to do that. We're going to talk about it more in our next meeting, but we have such a good footprint here too, in terms of recruiting with the Embassy Suites, some of the people we partner with downtown, like Coach Jones talked about. So I think each sport's able to pick up some new ideas from the other coaches.
And I know Coach Jones appreciates what
And
you
Dr.
do,
Fields
showing up
participates.
at
Yep.
events. I think he wants you to come up with a new karaoke song though.
Maybe we can sing something
Is
together.
that coming?
We'll see. If it's a really good player and it's dependent on me
There we
singing
go.
karaoke, I will do it.
Maybe we could rap together.
All right. Next question comes from David Miller of Jonesboro. He wants to know, where are we at with NIL? Can fans donate to it?
Yeah, I think we've talked about that, several times tonight. You got the contact information for Chris and Davey. Very close to having a website ready and some of the different things that go with that. So hopefully make it very easy for people to participate. But as soon as we get that ready, and hopefully that's in a few weeks, that soon, they've been working hard on that. We'll make sure that everybody gets that information.
And so cool that DeMario wants to be a part of that, but
Yeah.
it's the Impact Club, IMPACKT Club. Be looking for that and ways that you can contribute to that coming up very soon.
Yeah, and thanks. There's a board of directors, and DeMario is on that board. So appreciate him doing that and giving him his time. And I think he has 4 small children. So like
Yeah.
he said, his schedule's pretty packed.
Another question here from Matt Pierce of Jonesboro. He wants to know, what is our plan to get back on track to winning and improving just the overall experience at games?
Yeah, I think we can both talk about that. Well, there's some surveys that have been sent out. So I appreciate everyone that's filled those out. We're going to read through them all and then see what we can implement. To me, the one I'm really passionate about, a couple of them, Red Wolf Walk, 2 hours and 15 minutes before every football game. We have recruits out there. We're going to try to do some different things, maybe with the band and cheer, to change the look of that. But I just think it means so much to our student athletes, to the recruits, to our coaches, to support them in terms of football, and then showing up at all of our other events. And students and the band have been really good at most of our basketball games. But I want to work with Dr. Shields. I've met with some of the student groups, but I'm literally just going to go to each group in the fraternities and sororities and ask them, hey, what can we do to get you to come to our events, and how do we incentivize it, and how do we make it kind of how do you want it to look? I mean, it's for the students, and the students set the tone for the entire crowd at the end of the day.
Dr. Shields?
Yeah, we're just trying to really break down some silos between the student affairs side and the academic side, and then getting faculty, staff, and students out to the games. And then when they get out there too, really getting some pride in what's going on, and even some traditions. Jeff and I've talked about, a lot of schools have a lot of traditions that the students or even the faculty and staff might go engage in. And we're going to try to start developing some of those kind of things here too, because I would love to see a student section that's just really rowdy.
Yeah.
And I think that that's something we can have happen here. Also, I'm reaching out a lot to the community to just say, look, it's, whether you're given to NIL or not, just being at the games, being at the place. I mean, these students are here and they're performing, they're working their tails off, they're working hard. Having the community show up to cheer is a big, big deal.
Got a question here from Arliss Dickerson as well as William Bill from Jonesboro. They want to know, what are the plans for the new baseball facility or improving our current facility?
Yeah, I'll start with that. Yeah, baseball is talked about as much as any sport in terms of facility that we're currently in. I think there's a couple layers to this. Number one, there really wasn't a firm plan and a bunch of details and cost estimates and all those things. I know there were some drawings done, but that was pretty much it. So we're trying to figure out, what was done in that regard. And then, I know we've talked about location, or do we stay where we are? Is there a better location? Do we do something, downtown, something with the city? I think we need to explore all options. So we're currently doing that. We've had some meetings on that. And then, the second piece that it all comes down to is money. And we're going to have to fundraise to it and, you know, figure out which donors are passionate about baseball, maybe former players, all those kind of things. So we're working on it. But just like everything, it's going to take some time. And I know that's not the world we live in. And I get it. It needs to be addressed for our student athletes to have this league is going to be competitive in all the sports. Baseball, it will be one of the top couple conferences in America. I think there's 4 teams in the
without a
top
doubt.
25.
You know, we talked about breaking down silos of student affairs and that sort of thing too. One of the things too, you met Brandon earlier, but we're working together in terms of fundraising. So we've even met this week to talk about how we can divide things up. So it's not just on athletics, but academic fundraising as well, working with Alumni Society together. And then I think that that's something that I haven't seen here, that we're really going to really make sure we're all on the same page working together, so that it's not just on one person to do it. But we're going to really try to raise money for all these types of sports.
Arliss Dickerson, as well as Keith Reed, would also like to know updates on the potential addition of softball. I know that's been talked about a long time as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah, it's Keith Reed, Jonesboro. Keith Reed.
Keith Reed, yes.
All right. Appreciate Keith. He helped us find our house, which has made my wife and kids very happy, which makes it much easier for me to do my job here. So special shout out to Keith. Softball, I know had been discussed even before I got here. And there were some preliminary plans in place. I think we need to restart some of those discussions. We're going to have to figure out, we'd have to figure out the facility first and foremost. And then you'd have to have a runway in terms of, you know, hiring a coach and staff and then you have to start recruiting. You couldn't just start it and you're ready to go day one. But I think we, you know, from a Title IX perspective, we have a review coming up. I think that's one of the things we will need to address in terms of adding a potential women's sport. We know there's costs associated with it. Softball, and there's beach volleyball gets brought up, and there's some other options on the table. For me, softball, I think people are passionate about it in this part of the country for sure. I saw it at Alabama. They sell out season tickets, and I think 3,500 or somewhere around that number, and it's packed and people go and love it. And it's a really good event to watch. It's a good event for TV. They do really well. So we're working on that as well. That's on the list.
One of the things that we're looking at too is, you know, we talked earlier about the 2% limit for
Right.
schools giving. One of the things that some fans and alumni can do is talk to their senators and legislatures, because there is some discussion about removing Title IX sports from that 2% limit. If that's the case, it would not only free up money for Title IX sports, but it free up money for other sports as well. So that's something that we're watching, and that's something moving through legislature now.
Got another question here from John Verser. He's from Greer's Ferry. He wants to know, are we close to finalizing football schedules past 2024? What will our football schedule philosophy look like going forward?
Yeah, also on the list to address immediately is our football scheduling. I've had some discussions. There's kind of a guru of football scheduling, and he knows who's playing who. He has a website, and it's pretty elaborate. And I've known him a long time. He used to work at ESPN. So working with him on our plan moving forward, we're set through 24. We need one more game for 25. Looking at potentially starting a home and home, maybe on the road in 25. And then we have obviously at Oklahoma this year we need probably one cell game in terms of the budget. I call them cell games. Oklahoma, we're at Michigan the year after. And then we have Arkansas and Little Rock in 25. And then we have the Iowa State series starting as well. But I think the formula, and I've talked some with Coach about this, 2 home games, 2 road games, maybe 1 FCS, 1 game at a Michigan or an Oklahoma, and then see if we can fill in. I think the Memphis series, we have it scheduled out, not every single year moving forward, but we do have some of those locked in down the road. I think that makes a lot of sense. But I'd like to do some home and homes. I'd like to keep it a little bit more in our geographic footprint, but it is a lot more challenging because the SEC is debating whether to go to 9 games or not. So everybody I've talked to is kind of in a holding pattern. And then not to mention people schedule so far out in college football that sometimes you have to be creative. And that's the good thing about working with Dave, is sometimes he knows who would move something around on the if you want to add anything to.
Just that, I know that the Sun Belt, and Jeff knows this too, is that really into trying to build up real regional rivalries.
Yeah,
And we mentioned that before, and I think that's something that we're really in favor of as well. Just building up these rivalries that, you know, that are within the region so that the fan base can get there quickly. It's easy for players to get to too, and then just building up those rivalries will kind of continue to build interest in the sports around here.
another question, and you briefly mentioned beach volleyball just a moment ago, but Jeremy Harper wants to know, will A-State explore the possibility of maybe adding beach volleyball at some point?
Like I mentioned earlier, I'm open to exploring any possibility. I mean, you'd have to run the numbers. I don't know, beach volleyball in Jonesboro, Arkansas. I don't know if that, but it might make sense, in terms of a new sport we can add. I know the Sun Belt added beach volleyball. There's only I think 4 or so members participating. Softball, I think 12 of the 14 are currently playing softball. So yeah, I'm open to looking at all options.
Got another question here from
Volleyball comments.
Brandon Keaton of Jeffersonville, Indiana. He wants to know, what is the 5-year plan for the athletic department as a whole, and what are the current steps being taken to reach those goals?
Yeah, well, I talked about it earlier, setting the foundation in terms of our staffing, getting the right people here, the right coaches here. I think we're on our way there. I don't think today you can sit there, okay, here's our 5-year plan, and that's going to happen in year 4 and year 5. These past few years should tell us that, not only with COVID, but all the changes in college athletics. But I do think we need to, prioritize what we want to try to do from a facility standpoint, from a program standpoint. We're going to do that. And then we're going to go out and visit with our donors and stakeholders and find out what's important to them, and then see what we can move the needle on. I don't know if we'll do a formalized campaign, but that's another thing I've talked with Dr. Shields about, is maybe, we do something in terms of the university and athletics. I don't know if you want to add to that.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I think that's something that we're going to be able to do to work together, because I just feel like, we're in this pool together, particularly with the limit. So the more we grow, the more we can give, the more we raise, the more we can give. It's not just a win-loss kind of thing. It's a win-win deal. And so just making sure that we're all on the same page. And it does, just to echo Jeff, it does seem like the atmosphere and then the rules change day to day. And so what's happening in terms of, I think Mr. Davis said it was the wild, wild west right now. And it kind of rang a little bit true, is that, what's happening today is different. So it's difficult to plan. It's not difficult to plan what we're going to do as a program, and developing student athletes to be the best they can be and to recruit the best players we possibly can. That's always going to be part of the plan.
Got another question here from David Miller. He wants to know, is there any new information concerning an apparel agreement?
There will be here very soon. So this fall has been a whirlwind. A couple of the things that needed to get done really even before probably I got here, where the multimedia rights contract was coming up literally in less than a month, which is, I've never heard of a runway that short. But we were able to figure that out. We just got the deal done with Learfield, and they're a great partner, and they worked with us to get to this point, and the dollars are significantly higher than where we started. So feel good about that. Adidas was next in terms of some of the revenue generation side. So we'll get to announcing that, hopefully, I would think in the next month or so, in terms of the apparel.
And I think that's it as far as the questions go. So any final thoughts, guys, before we get out of here?
Just that, I'm just really excited about the staff down here. This new event is just kind of symbolic of the effort to make sure that we're engaging with the community, making sure that we're telling the community what we're doing, letting them ask us questions. We're not afraid of any questions. I mean, we know that there's issues and hurdles that we've got to overcome. I don't know of anybody that's been a part of a more winning tradition, building from the ground up, than Jeff. We're committed to working as hard as the athletes are to make that happen. We love the Red Wolves, and we're going to see some real exciting changes. I'm convinced of that.
Yeah, and just to echo on Dr. Shields, like I mentioned earlier, I'm a competitive person. I want to win, and what can we do to help that? Me, Dr. Shields, Matt, our fans, we're all in this together. We're willing to roll up our sleeves and figure this out. But the best thing we can do is show up and support our teams and all the ticketed sports for sure. And all our other sports as well. So make sure we're all on the same page and pulling the same direction. It's huge. A lot can be accomplished when you do that. It's most difficult maybe when you're not having as much success as you'd like to have. But like Dr. Shields said, I've been very fortunate to work at two great universities, Florida State and Alabama. And when it's going in the right direction, it impacts everybody. The university grows. You get the enrollment numbers go up, the quality of students go up, the community in the city grow and more business come. I mean, Alabama had 18,000 students in 2007 when Coach Saban got there. I also got there then, but probably a little bit more Coach Saban factor. But now the enrollment's 40,000, and there's double the hotels and restaurants. So all of this ties together, and just want to make sure, we're on the same page and we're willing to listen and communicate. If there's something we can do better, we're willing to do it. And last thing I'm going to add, I don't know if you're going to ask this, but so in the State of the Pack, we try to do some interaction with our fans and donors, and with the Wolves Up, I'm trying to encourage people when they go somewhere, I don't know if it's the Eiffel Tower or somewhere, Washington, D.C. or somewhere like that. Send us a Wolves Up photo, tag me on it. Maybe hopefully you have an Arkansas State shirt or hat on as well. And we just want to kind of show that and grow the brand.
Can you do it from the supermarket? Is that okay too?
Yeah, that one might not make it, but I know Jerry Scott's been combing through trying to find some shots. Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
But this has been a great night. And Jeff, I know you mentioned some of the people that made this possible earlier. Ethan, Will, Peyton, everybody from the technical side. There's a whole cast of characters that made this possible tonight. Maddie Mason, Jerry Scott, Maya Garrett, Mark Taylor, Caleb Gardner. It's just been a really neat thing. Great way to interact with our fans tonight, and our fans to interact with our leaders as well. So for Dr. Shields, for Jeff Purinton, I'm Matt Stiltz. Good night, everybody.
Wolves Up.